Let's talk about the question that everybody's going to ask. Is this going to make the Synapse irrelevant? Should I sell my Synapse? Should I get rid of my Synapse? We got to compare these two things because this is like a battle of titans, in my opinion. The Synapse, of course, is Tom Bihn's most popular backpack, and it comes in two flavors: the Synapse 25 and the Synapse 19. The Synapse 25 being, by and large, the more popular of the two, and has been their flagship, kind of top of the name backpack for a while. It's an everyday carrier person's dream backpack with the amount of organization and comfort that it has. It just feels awesome. And then over here we have their newest entry, the Synik. And you notice that aesthetically, they look very much the same. As usual, the devil is in the details. First thing you'll notice right away, they've moved the patch from here down to here. That's the biggest outside aesthetic difference. But let's go over all of the things because everybody's gonna be asking, like, do I need this thing? Do I need to get rid of my Synapse? What's the next step for me? Like, I expect that many people, because they'll chase the shiny new thing, will probably sell their Synapse and get this. But I own both. I'm going to keep both. I'm going to have both, and I'm going to use both. And I'm going to show you why. So the first thing worth noting is that the organization on the top of the bag is not going to be very much different. This backpack was bought for me in about, I think, February 2018. So it actually is not the latest iteration of that bag, and I'll go over that in a minute. So let's open up these top pockets. The top pockets are very much the same. There really isn't that much difference. This one is, oh, that one's a little deeper. I think that one's a little deeper. So let's measure it to be sure. So that's about 6 inches, and that's about 6.5. So just a hair bigger. But otherwise, really not that much different. Still have the O-ring on the top there, same as the Synapse. If you have a quote-unquote older Synapse, because this is actually a pretty recent design change for them, so this one, the interior of the pocket, kind of got a mesh outside here and here. And this one was designed to hold a water bottle, which it still does. But again, devil being in the details, they changed this one to make it so that the pocket kind of tapers in. It gives you more room on the outside pockets here, but still has room for a water bottle. For me, that's just perfect because I carry a water bottle, and honestly, I could just use the extra room here. Why not? So this is about 10 inches of depth, and this is about 10 inches of depth. So about the same. The main difference being is that instead of being backed by halcyon fabric here, it's just mesh all the way down, and it kind of tapers in like this. The side pockets, very much the same as well. But because of the construction of this pocket is so much different, you do get a little extra room in your side pockets there. Let me just open both up. You see that you've got just about the same amount of room. I usually put my toiletries kit in the side here, so let's see how it fits in there. Little bit of a tighter fit, but certainly doable. And then, oh yeah, that's it's just a little bit easier to get in. Day-to-day difference, not that big, but it is a thing. Still something to think about, right? And then of course we've got the bottom pocket, which the bottom pocket is just humongous. I don't use this thing for a ton. I've seen people roll up sleeping bags. I've seen people put jackets in here. Personally, I just throw my snake charmer in there, and that works just fine for me. All right, so let's talk about the top part of the bags. There's not a lot of differences here. The one thing I will point out is the grab handle. So this is the grab handle on the Synapse right here. So you see that it is kind of webbed and kind of just very functional. It's just kind of sewn on, and it kind of goes in the back, integrated with the backpack straps. That's where it goes. So it kind of comes out and turns up and then turns into a grab handle. This one looks nicer. It's just the aesthetic is so much better. This is the Synik. And this one is not integrated necessarily. It's not integrated with the handles, but goes in, is kind of sewn in with the top of the bag part here. And the stitching is really nice, and it just feels and looks like really way better. Does it functionally make a difference? Probably not, but it looks a lot nicer, and I do like my bags to look nice. Aesthetic is important to me. Let's talk about the back of the bags. So let's start with the straps. So these straps on the Synapse are very comfortable. I've never had a complaint about comfort with them. The material is very well constructed. They're very nice, and the stitching looks good. So very functional bag, but the Synik takes that just and steps it up a little bit. Firstly, the fabric. Let's talk about the fabric first. So the fabric here is kind of textured on top. This one is just kind of rougher and just kind of, you know, it's squishy. It's just a strap. I don't know what else to say, but the texture here just feels a little nicer. It's a little more textured. And then the underside just feels and looks a lot nicer. When you first touch the handle of the bag, when you're picking it up, you just notice how soft and premium it feels. This one, again, there's nothing wrong with it, but it just doesn't feel as nice. And then the squishiness, this is much thicker foam, and I can tell the difference. When I have these things fully loaded, I could definitely tell the difference between this strap versus this strap. Again, there's nothing wrong with the Synapse 25 straps. They've just taken on the Synik, they have taken it and stepped it up quite a bit. So you still have the place for the chest strap here. You notice that it's still attached to the Synik. I usually remove them from my backpacks. I just haven't on this one yet. So in case you use a chest strap, you have the same chest strap. There's really not much different there. And you still, same as the Synik, you still have these little hooks right here for your waist strap. They also sell one for both the Synik and the Synapse. They sell one that is padded and it goes around your hips. I've never used one. And usually on these bags, I take those off as well. So not much to say there. The padding is a little bit different. You notice that the mesh goes down further on the Synapse, and it doesn't go down as far on the Synik. So let's open these bags up. I'm gonna open up the Synapse first. You see that, of course, it only comes down to here, so I'm only gonna be able to open it up quite about like that. I'm gonna take my cash out and just put it right there, and that'll stay open. And then, of course, I'll open up the Synik, and it just goes all the way open. So much so that I can't even get the whole thing in the frame. So this is probably going to be the biggest difference between these two bags. One of them is a clamshell, one of them is just not, right? I mean, it's if people have been asking for this and people wanted it, so Tom Bihn made it. Let's talk about the insides of the bag. So really, this is where these bags really start to diverge in terms of what they're capable of. So the inside of this bag, there's two really major differences. First of all, well, the first zeroth difference is that it's just much more accessible to get inside this bag. Actually, let's take the tape measure and measure it. There's my tape measure. Let's measure how deep this is. So this is about 20 inches roughly. And then this is about 20 inches roughly. So the interiors of the bags, very similar dimensions. In fact, the exterior dimensions of this bag are pretty much the same as between the Synapse and the Synik. So that's 13.5, that's 15, but that just might be how I have this open. So roughly very similar in terms of the interior space. This is just a lot more accessible to me. It's easier to get stuff in and out of it because it's a clamshell. So let's talk about the two major differences as I mentioned. First, these optional tie-down straps. You can remove these. These are removable, but these are nice. Will I use them? I like the option of having them. I don't know if I'll use them. I'll let you know in a later video if I ever want to put a packing cube in here, or if I just want to stuff clothes. These seem like a good thing to have in case I want them. Whereas in the Synapse, you just don't have anything, and it really wouldn't make sense to put them inside of the Synapse because it's not a clamshell. I think it would be kind of hard to navigate. The other big difference, of course, is actually there's three, I'm gonna mention three. So the second main difference that I can see is the laptop compartment here is embedded inside of the backpack. This to me is a really welcome change. As I mentioned in my Synik review, I've always been a big fan of the cache system. I have a ton of cache accessories and I use it a ton, but this does take up a lot of room. This offers very less padding, probably functionally the same, but takes up a lot less room. I like the integrated laptop compartment, and I also like that in the Synik, it's also accessible from a side zipper, which there is nothing like that inside of the Synapse. The third major difference is the internal frame. So you notice here that I have an internal frame inside of my Synapse. And you notice that it is kind of just integrated with this little bar, and it goes right into these cache loops here, right? Inside of the Synik, it's in the back of the bag. So not only is this a luggage handle pass-through, but this actually contains the internal frame. I can't tell you how cool that is. You don't know that you needed something or that you wanted something until you have it. And this is a lot. This internal frame sort of disappears, but offers the same level of comfort, maybe even a little more, because the whole bag itself is more comfortable. I love the internal frame on my Synapse. I use it all the time. But I like also that it's just quote unquote there and I don't have to see it. It's more integrated into the bag, kind of like with the aeronaut. So, talking about the top pockets, these are the, let me put this in here. Let me put this right there. Perfect. All right, so let's talk about the top pockets. For all you O-ring geeks out here, I'm just not an O-ring person, so I really don't know where they are, but I think that this is the location of the other O-rings. These are 2 additional O-rings that you have for attaching your favorite Tom Bihn pouches or accessories where they just don't have them here. You'll also notice that this does have the cache loops, which is really important to me because I like to have my iPad to carry with me as well as my laptop. This one also has the cache loops. And frankly, this is really awesome because I really would have been sad if they'd left these out. And then you have the same bubble kind of like pocket here with this little bit of elastic. It's pretty much the same as the Synapse, but again, a lot more accessible. It just feels bigger. It feels roomier. And it is technically roomier. It is 30 liters versus 25. But roughly they're going to carry the same, except this one, you're just going to be able to get to the stuff a lot more. So the question on everybody's mind, I'm part of the Tom Bihn Buy Sell Trade Facebook group, and somebody asked, does this make the Synapse irrelevant? Does the Synik make the Synapse something that you just would not buy? So let me comment on that a little bit. I am going to keep this bag. First of all, it was a birthday gift, and so I'm very attached to it. And second of all, it's a different bag, but it's a bag that solves a slightly different purpose. For everyday carry, it still will do the job for me. This one has a few more travel-ish characteristics that might make it to traveling with it a little nicer. It also has a more premium construction, which is hard to believe because Tom Bihn is known for their supreme detail, supreme attention to detail, and supreme construction on their bag. What they've done is taken the best parts about the Synapse and put them into the Synik and made the Synik even better. So they changed the carry handle, as I've already mentioned. They've got these more padded shoulder straps, which is really nice. And of course, the clamshell. So somebody on the Facebook group mentioned, are people just going to flood and sell their Synapses? Are we just going to see a flood of Synapses come onto the market? Probably, because people want the new shiny thing. And I have to admit, this bag is really great. This is an amazing bag. Tom Bihn has done an amazing job making something, topping the Synapse, which I scarcely can believe is possible, but they did it. I still think that the Synapse absolutely has a place in our hearts and in our closets. Am I going to run and get rid of all of my Synapses and just go with the Synik? No, I'm going to, of course, keep this one because it was a birthday gift. I have a couple more, and I'm going to keep them. I think that they are great bags. The other thing is that the Synik is going to be more expensive. We don't know how much more expensive at time of recording, but it is going to be more expensive, which makes sense because the detailing on this bag is just, it's the detailing and construction on this bag is just different from the Synapse. It's a little more detailed with the more premium straps and the construction up here. So it probably takes longer to make, and they're probably using slightly better materials in other places. The final price is not known. So no, I don't think the Synapse is going to be irrelevant by any stretch. Also worth mentioning that the Synapse comes in ballistic as well as halcyon. This is going to be in ballistic, halcyon, as well as parapack, which is different. Parapack has been reserved mainly for their guides pack as of recent. So that's going to be kind of an interesting, it'll have a slightly tighter weave and a kind of softer feel compared to the ballistic. So to wrap up, don't rush and get rid of your Synapse. It still has a place in your closet. I'm going to keep both, and I'm probably going to use both. I'm going to use this one for a while because I want to put it through its paces. And I think it's a really nice bag. Overall, this would be a great investment. If you have a Synapse and you love it, I don't think you need to buy this bag. If you really need the clamshell features, or if you want the extra convenience of traveling, or if you just want a new bag, or if you just want to play with the premium features that this thing offers, then get the Synik. Otherwise, I don't think that this makes the Synapse irrelevant. It's just adding on to what's already a really strong lineup by Tom Bihn.